Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. We're almost on the last leg of our program for our UAE India Business Fest, Sharjah Emirates Focus. This is our last industry panel discussion before we announce the formal announcements of the business investments and strategic alliances that are going to be signed. And now we are ready to embark on a very, very important topic. We have very high-profile speakers once again. Mr. V. Balasubramaniam, who is highly acclaimed in India's financial market and globally. He has made a very, very positive contribution to India's financial markets, and his expertise is sought after by countries worldwide. The UAE obviously is a hot market for India and vice versa, and his presentation will touch upon how we can use the case studies and models that have already been created in India and emulate them for the UAE market in order to increase further trade flows and win partnerships between both ends of the respective countries. A few words about Mr. V. Balasubramaniam. He is the founding Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the India International Exchange, IFSC Limited. He also holds board positions in the following organizations: the Central Depository Services India Limited, the Bombay Stock Exchange Institute, Education Business, BSc Saman CSR Exchange, and India International Clearing Corporation, IFSC Limited. Prior to this, he was the Chief Business Officer of the Bombay Stock Exchange, heading the business development encompassing all business segments: equities, equity derivatives, debt, interest rate futures, currency derivatives, mutual fund distribution platforms, and SME platforms. In addition to the markets business, he was also responsible for the listings and data business of the BSE and managing the entire trading operations and membership operations. That is a laudable task. He has over 25 years' experience in the capital markets industry and has previously worked with the Reliance Group as Vice President, and was also the co-founder of Marketplace Technologies Limited, which was acquired by the Bombay Stock Exchange. He was also part of the core team involved in setting up the National Stock Exchange of India. He was instrumental in creating the capital market segment, the Nifty index creation, setup of NSCCL as the first clearing corporation in India, NCFM certification creation, and the futures and options segments inter alia. His expertise, no doubt, will be definitely sought after by this part of the world, our regions, the Emirates, and international markets. Please join me to welcome him aboard on the dais. Thank you. Following Mr. B. Balasubramaniam, may I now invite Mr. Edward James Fitzpatrick to also take to the seat. A few words about Mr. Edward James Fitzpatrick. He is the CEO of Allied Limited and majority shareholder in ISGE Limited, the holding company for the entire group of companies related to the startup stock exchange SSX Netherlands. In 1990, he created his own regulated firm and has been a serial entrepreneur, developing new businesses and buying and selling companies. In 2000, he moved to Switzerland and lived there for 12 years, running a business in Switzerland regulated by the Association Romande des Intermédiaires Financiers. He is the founder of 8 private equity firms, all of which are active today. Mr. Fitzpatrick's funds have invested hundreds of millions into private and public companies in most sectors over the past 25 years. Edward has a wealth of experience dealing with various business cultures and governments all over the world, and is currently advising and installing projects in over 50 countries. His firm had funded the first oil exploration in Sudan 17 years ago, before it became two independent countries. Mr. Fitzpatrick's main focus is in financial platforms that help and assist early-stage companies since the trend of crowdfunding globally. We have a lot to benefit from a very strong panel, especially from Mr. Balasubramaniam, as well as from Mr. Edward James Fitzpatrick, who will shed light on SME funding and how local SMEs can benefit from crowdfunding for venture capital projects. This session will be moderated by renowned Mr. Bhaskar Raj, who is a business journalist with more than 20 years' experience. Currently, Mr. Bhaskar Raj is the deputy editor of the Middle East Insurance Review, the most respected insurance publication in the Middle East. He is also a regular TV and radio commentator on business, economy, and financial affairs. As part of his journalistic career, he was the business editor of Gulf Today, Sharjah, and senior section editor with the Economic Times, the Times of India Group, Bombay. I'm sure he will conduct this very strong panel with utmost flair. Please join me in a round of applause to welcome the panelists and the moderator. Be ready for a dynamic Q&A session following the panel discussion. Thank you.
Good evening, friends. So we are going to have a very, very interesting topic. We are discussing about investment. Our theme, as we said, is that the investment opportunities, other opportunities which is offering this region as well as between India and the UAE. And among us, as we already said, that the panel, we have a distinguished panel here. Mr. Balasubramaniam, we have already introduced him as one of the, he is actually, we say that he is a founding member of the National Stock Exchange, which was an experiment which is so successful in the world now. And he is also, after that, he joined the exchange, the derivatives market here. Actually, in the last week, the Prime Minister himself said that he has lots of probes in this new exchange, which is going to be the price setter for almost 10 commodities in the world, which India is going to pioneer that one. So Mr. James is going to be discussing about SME financing, particularly because he has that experience of the startup exchange, where how SMEs can be financed, how we can actually find wherewithal for growing this segment. First, we will ask Mr. Balasubramaniam about the opportunities offered in India in the stock markets.
Good evening, and thanks for having me here. As Mr. Bhaskar mentioned, I think there are investments today, or capital flows, today is a global phenomenon. And almost every person, every household, every individual, every corporate, every sovereign, every country today is actually looking at investments to flow, both in terms of physical investments and financial investments. And both these go hand in hand. And today, India offers a very large opportunity in the financial markets. Effectively, India has now become a $2 trillion economy, and effectively the growth rate is somewhere about 7.5 to 8%, which makes it one of the fastest growing major economies in the world. And most interestingly, India is home to almost 1.25 billion people, and which makes that every sixth person in the planet is actually an Indian. So effectively, almost 1/6 of the world trade should be something which proportionately should be with India, but today in terms of proportion, it's only about 4%, which is 1/25. So effectively, the growth potential is very, very large in terms of that. In fact, even in the previous panels, we saw that there are so many things which we can do, and India is right now pretty much unexploited at this point of time. Now, coming to the financial markets, India has always had a history of long financial market. In fact, the organization which I represent is actually a venture from Bombay Stock Exchange, which is the oldest exchange in Asia. This was set up in 1875, so almost 143 years now in terms of its history. And always traders in India have exhibited a lot of entrepreneurship qualities. And as we speak today, we are probably the home to the largest amount of listed companies in the world. which makes BSE the largest listed exchange, with almost 6,000 companies actually listed on that. So there is a lot of investment opportunity possibility which is there. On top of it, as Mr. Raj mentioned, just recently, India has also opened this first international financial service center. This is akin to what Dubai did in terms of DIFC, or it's basically in some sense what Hong Kong is for China. In some sense, typically the same way, India has created a kind of an offshore zone, which will be basically, from all economic law perspective, it will have a separate law, which will be much more freer with lighter touch regulatory jurisdiction over there. And these two, both the mainland India as well as the offshore India, which is through the international exchange, offers a lot of possibilities, especially for foreign investors, and also for overseas Indian investors, which are non-resident Indians. So both of them have a lot of advantages out here. In fact, there are a lot of fiscal incentives which is also being offered. So in some sense, the investment opportunity in India is today large. Almost the markets today are roughly having a market cap of close to about $1.6 trillion. And also the Indian startup ecosystem is growing at a very rapid pace with such a large domestic market. So I'm sure many investors from most of the world, including UAE, both from sovereign side as well as local households and corporations, could look at India as a possible opportunity.
Thank you, Bala. Now let's listen to Edward. Edward, he is actually, he is the creator of the Capital Superhighway, which he has actually created the experiment which was so successful. That means the startup exchange. This is to finance the small sales sector, as well as he is now heavily into fintech. So let's listen to him, and actually let's hear what exactly can this region learn from your experience.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for asking me to speak here this evening. I'm speaking in a little while, so I don't want to double up what I'm saying. But we've a lot to learn from the region. I've been here all day listening to everybody speak, and it's been incredible. We've already got a lot of things in common. One main thing being we really deeply care about the SME market, and we understand its vital importance in an economy, how that links to government infrastructure, how that links to jobs and growth in every single region across the world. It's not a unique thing, it's global. And I'm dedicating the rest of my career to fixing some of these problems that exist today. We're a little bit disjointed in the SME marketplace, and we hear some of those frustrations today. And we've a lot to learn from this region here. The factoring discussion that I heard earlier today was fascinating, and I can see how I can link that factoring expertise into my exchange to gain information from that company, from that organization, on the organizations that it represents, to give investors some satisfaction that the companies listed on an early stage exchange would have some competence. And so I've learned a lot today personally, and I want to share as much of that learning that I've learned from everybody here today with you, and do as much as I can to bring something to the region. As I say, I don't want to overlap what I'm going to speak about a little later, but my focus here is unique in one sense, that I'm bringing a startup stock exchange to Dubai, and I'm also bringing a startup stock exchange to India. And so that creates an alliance. There's 48 other countries in that alliance, and that alliance will create a platform where regulation, where information, the sharing of digitally delivered information can help and assist in every single topic that we've heard about today. And that's the vital thing, is give confidence to the investor, give confidence to the SME community that they won't have a disruption in the flow of their activity. We see companies raise a little bit of money from friends and family, their first round, then they stop their business activity while they go to the market and look for some more. Then competitors come in and spoil the waters, and I want to see that flow continue. I want to see a company that's why I've called it the Capital Superhighway. The Capital Superhighway is exactly what a highway is. It puts a company onto a highway and allows them to stop off at services and keep the flow of their destination in mind. And so thank you for the introduction, and thank you for the allowing me to participate today. I'm really looking forward to some detailed questions and to get into some good
mainly
topics.
about, actually, I want to ask you about the SME sector here. SME sector, like any other country, here actually the SMEs are the backbone of the economy in the UAE, because we have about 350,000 SMEs operating here. Of that, about 52,000 are in Sharjah alone. And recently, there was an agreement between, an MOU was signed between Sharjah Investment Authority, Shuruk, as well as Dubai SME. Dubai SME is the authority for regulating the SME sector. What happened is that there we noticed that after the slowdown, economic slowdown, many of the SMEs were not doing well. But what happened is that there was a bank finance problem, that financing was a major issue. But recently they were all sorted out, and we are seeing a turnaround in the SME sector now. But the thing is that bank financing, particularly there are a lot of startup companies, are still finding difficulty in raising funds for their capital, as well as how can you actually help them find capital for their startup companies?
So I think if I've been an investor for 25 years, I know I don't look old enough, but trust me, I am. And I was fortunate in my early 20s. I was fortunate as the introduction to finance a transaction that made everybody a lot of money. And I decided to put the money that I made into early stage companies. So as an investor, what I want to see is I want to see that the company means it, that the company's got a good plan, that the company respects the money that's being invested into it. This is very important because crowdfunding has emerged around the world. It hasn't really emerged here.